My name is Michael Allard. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Home Base, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to the Home Base National Center of Excellence celebration and opening. Today's color guard has representation from the 211th Military Police Battalion and the Massachusetts Army National Guard. This will be followed by the national anthem, who will be performed by Specialist Blair Levitt of the 215th Army Band with the Massachusetts Army National Guard. I'd ask you all to rise for the presentation of the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, and please be seated. So as I said earlier, my name is Michael Allard, and it's a real privilege to be here at this moment of Home Base and have the distinct honor of being able to introduce the president of Mass General Hospital, Dr. Peter Slavin. As a quick reference here, Home Base is in its 10th year. And close to 11 years ago, Tom Warner, who could not be with us as they hunt the next trophy out in Los Angeles, had an idea. And it was really from the tour that the Red Sox had taken over at Walter Reed, which really affected Tom and his colleagues. And he immediately began to think that there's something that we could do as a nation. And he approached Dr. Slavin and the Board of Trustees at Mass General Hospital. And for the first time, really, in our country's history, the private sector in healthcare got involved. And as Peter said to the Board of Trustees at the time, this is probably the worst business decision we'll ever make, because it was going to be driven all by philanthropy, and it was, as many of you know, one of the most under-resourced areas in the country. But he also said it was the right thing, because our veterans and their family members have earned the right to the best care that America and at Mass General can offer. And Peter moved forward. And it is because of his leadership and his support that Home Base is proud to stand today entering our 10th year and unveiling our new National Center of Excellence. Dr. Peter Slavin, thank you for all of your leadership.
Michael, thank you for that introduction, and thanks to you and Jack Hammond for your incredible leadership of this program. We are so fortunate to be joined by some of our most prominent and influential elected officials here in Massachusetts. We have the Governor, Charlie Baker, U.S. Senator Ed Markey, Mayor Marty Walsh, and Attorney General Maura Healey. I also see Middlesex County Sheriff Peter Katusian. I'm sure there are others that I apologize for omitting. We were honored back in 2007, 2008 to be approached by the Red Sox Foundation about joining together to create the home-based program. And thanks to the wonderful leadership that I mentioned, partnering with our departments of psychiatry, led by Jerry Rosenbaum, who's here, and physical medicine and rehabilitation, led by Dr. Ross Affand, we've created really a world-class program for the people in our society who deserve it the most. The partnership with the Red Sox has been incredibly powerful. Making it to the World Series is a pretty extraordinary lengths to go to avoid being here today. But we certainly wish them well out in Los Angeles. But I know in spirit, Tom Werner in particular is here with us today. This program, as you're going to hear, has made an incredible difference in the lives of those returning from Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Vietnam, and all campaigns suffering from the invisible wounds of war. And it is really heartwarming to see the impact that this program has had on so many veterans and their families as well. I also want to recognize Dr. Tim Ferriss, my partner in crime. He is the head of the Mass General Physicians Organization, and is really everything that happens at Mass General is really a result of the symbiosis between the hospital and our physicians organization. This new facility that I hope you'll have a chance to tour really will enable us to dramatically expand the services that we're able to provide and put under one roof that full range of services that previously were under four different roofs. And we are very grateful to all of our donors, particularly the Wounded Warriors Project, for helping make this possible. I want to thank the Board of Trustees for, rather than firing me when I brought this idea forward, for unanimously endorsing us moving forward with this proposal. And I think it's exceeded all of our expectations thanks to the great leadership of Jack and his colleagues. I also want to thank Tom Spencer, the medical director, Joy Rosen, the vice president, who's overseeing this project, for playing such a very important role in its success. But we, in addition to providing great clinical care, are also working on research, which we're trying to build to come up with even better answers for these problems, and we have our fingers crossed that there are better ways to diagnose and treat these disorders in the years to come. This impressive commitment of all of you ensures that no one who returns from war is forgotten, and this program, we hope, is providing them with access to the best possible care that they so richly deserve. So it was now my great honor to introduce Jack Connors. Jack needs no introduction in this community. We have some of the most prominent public officials in the city, and we also have perhaps the most prominent private citizen in our community. You can't find a wonderful cause here in Boston that Jack Connors hasn't been involved in some significant way. Here at MGH, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all the different programs within our hospital that Jack has touched and made better. And you can't find a business leader here in this community who isn't a friend of Jack's or hasn't been benefited from his wonderful mentorship and advice, myself included. So, Jack, thank you so much for being here and for all you do for this community.
Peter, thank you for that introduction. Is there anything anyone would like to add about me before I'd be remiss if, with all the thank yous that are going to take place this afternoon, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the subcontractor in charge of heat. The front of the tent is very, very comfortable. I'm really quite comfortable. I'm just going to put my hands in my pockets. I don't want to misunderstand any of this. But just to tell a couple of stories, because at this age, that's all I really am, is a storyteller. There's an expression that I'll adapt somewhat. One person can make a difference, and every person can try, ought to try. The first person to make a difference was Tom Werner, as you've heard, when the Red Sox went to the White House, when people were actually welcomed at the White House. There I go again. Oh, that wraps up my comments. Thank you. He suggested that they bring this amazing World Series winning team of 2007 to Walter Reed Hospital. Everyone was touched by what they saw. And when he came back, he met with Peter Slavin, and they created Home Base. The idea was that we'd made a promise to these young men and women, and that we weren't really keeping that promise, and we ought to do something about that. And in the beginning, in the first year, Home Base served a handful, a few dozen really. This coming year, there will be over 3,500 veterans just in 1 year that will be served. And you'll notice if you stop by any day in the next month or two, there's no line waiting outside. The folks at Home Base have to go out and find these folks because they don't want to admit that they need help. And they bring them here, and as soon as 2 weeks later in some cases, they'll return them to relatively good health and to be placed back with their family and their community and their friends. It's extraordinary. Lives are saved here every day, and that's quite a contribution. So General Jack and Mike Allard and so many who are responsible for this every day, thanks for fulfilling the vision of Tom Warner and Peter Slavin. Speaking of vision, I now have the pleasure to introduce a man of great vision, a man who is the governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and would like to continue in that role. For maybe another 4 years, and then we'll talk about it again. But this man is a man of courage. He's a great business executive. What this is, at the end of the day, a $60+ billion business. And why not have a CEO or eventually an attorney general be responsible for managing this man? Charlie Baker is a world-class human being. He's a world-class governor, and he's my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Where do I go from there? Let me try this. First of all, the first time I heard about Home Base was when my wife Lauren and I attended what I guess is what was the annual gala, which was being held, General, over at the Kennedy Library, and had a chance to hear some of the families tell stories about their family members and how much this holistic, proactive, in the community approach to dealing with the whole picture of the invisible wounds of war was working, and the difference that it had made for the people that had a chance to benefit from it. And I remember saying to the general at the time and to Tom Werner that that this was, for my money, the most important innovation in the way we help men and women coming back from the combat theater deal with PTSD, TBI, and all of those issues that are associated with the invisible wounds. And I said at the time, you know, there must be some way that we can help you with this. And that then led to conversations with people like Senator Rush and Representative Cahill, and where's my Secretary of Veteran Services? Francisco Urena, USMC. And what we decided was our best opportunity to support this would be to see if we could do something to support the idea of taking some of the trainings and some of the knowledge and some of the learnings that were associated with this and make it available to other clinicians here in the Commonwealth. And that's exactly what we did. We filed a proposal on that. The legislature perfected it and sent it back. And I am up for election in 11 days. And that's exactly what it's going to be used for, which is it's going to be used to support other clinicians to help them get smarter and better with respect to how they deal with these men and women who, frankly, they and their predecessors are responsible for the fact that we get to have elections here in the United States and here in the Commonwealth of Mass, and we should never forget about that. And the final thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to Kurt Powers, who I think I saw when I came in. There you are. Kurt is an officer with it's either with our transit police or the Boston Transit Police. I can't remember. Thank you. Okay. I met Kurt a couple years ago when he and I both spoke at the Run to Home Base, which the Red Sox sponsor every year. And Kurt is a veteran. He came back from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he'd be the first to tell you that he was in a really dark, very tough space. And home base, when Kurt talked that day, there were thousands of people sitting at the stands at Fenway Park listening to Kurt talk on a really hot morning one Saturday. And I'm telling you, by the time he was done, there wasn't a dry eye in that stadium. When he told his story about where he was, the trip he had been on, and how much of a difference home base had made for him, for his wife, for his extended family, it said everything anybody ever needs to know about why this program is so important and why it is such a treasure and a gift to the men and women in uniform here, and I hope over time to the men in uniform across this country and beyond. This is really something special, and congratulations to Peter and to the folks at Mass General. Congratulations to the folks at the Red Sox and to Tom Werner, and congratulations to, and thank you to everybody who's part of this very special program. You are doing something great, and we should never forget that. And with that, I have an opportunity to introduce my fellow traveler in politics and public service, your United States Senator, Ed Markey.
Thank you, Governor, so much, and we thank all of you for being here. This is obviously something that is bipartisan. It's federal, state, and local. It's private sector. It's everyone working together. We're joined, of course, by the Pope, Jack Connors, who is here blessing this event. And it's a perfect partnership, actually, for today. The Red Sox are out in LA, but we know that the Citgo sign always beats the Hollywood sign. So we know that what the result is going to be. And as the Red Sox pursue the World Series, it's a perfect partnership because they are partnered with the world's greatest hospital, Mass General. So we thank you, Peter, for creating this incredible partnership with the Red Sox. And we thank you, General Hammond, for your leadership. And you are a leader. That's why this program is such a success. It needs leadership, and you are that leader every single day, bringing it together. We're here with Marty Walsh, our great mayor of Boston as well, and Peter Katusian and others who are gathered, but it's just a phenomenal day. 33 years ago, I met my wife, and I married her. I married the dream. I married a Jewish physician, two-star admiral. And what she told me on our first date because her first detail as a commander in the public health service was to work on substance abuse and mental health issues at SAMHSA. SAMHSA is that agency that has responsibility for it. And they put her in charge of depression for the country. They put her in charge of the program to destigmatize not only depression, but also substance abuse issues. And that's really what this is. It's the attempt to finally put together the program which says to veterans and their families, very importantly, that there is a program there that understands them and understands the interconnection of all of those issues, and how it also relates to traumatic brain injury, how it relates to PTSD, how it is a program that has to be put together. And this program it's a home run. It's something that is the model, not just for the United States, but for the whole world. The Red Sox, and by the way, thank you, Tom Werner. We appreciate what you're doing here for Home Run and for the whole city of Boston with the Red Sox tonight out in LA. But the Red Sox asked my wife if she could have the Secretary of the Veterans Administration to come up here 2 years ago, to just walk through, to see it. And when Secretary Shulkin was finished, he said that this is the model. This is what we need. This is what we have to replicate in state after state, in base after base, all across this planet. So it's a great honor for me to be here. My wife just wanted to say that she believes this is the model. This is what we have to do for the rest of the country, because it not only gives the help to veterans and their families, it gives them the hope which they need as well, that people care about them, that there's something that is there that will continue throughout their lives to help them and their families. So it's a special, special day. This is a special thing that has been created here. I just want to congratulate everyone who has participated in the construction of this program. And hopefully, children will have to look to the history books to find that there ever was a time when we didn't understand these issues and put together an integrated program, and that home base can be a home base all across our country for all of our vets who need this kind of help. So thank you all so much for everything that you're doing to help our vets. It's a fantastic day, and we're joined next by Massachusetts Legal Eagle, the top Attorney General in the United States, the great Maura Healey. Welcome, Maura.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And as a proud resident of Charlestown, I join our great representative, my representative, Dan Ryan, in welcoming everyone to the Navy Yard. And I thank you all for being here today. Thank you for everything that so many have done to make today possible. Governor Baker, Secretary Urena, thank you for your leadership and your continued commitment to veterans, service members, and their families. To our friends in the city of Boston, Mayor Marty Walsh, Commissioner Sterling, I know Commissioner Gross is here, Commissioner Finn and Hooley, thank you all for everything that you do. Proud to be with other members of law enforcement, including Sheriff Peter Katujan, who was recently noted for his work on opioids, and Chief Jim Hicks as well. To General Keefe and all of the wonderful men and women who have served, and continue to serve our country, thank you for reminding us in this time of too much divisiveness and discussion of red and blue that it truly is about the red, white, and blue. And that's what this program, to me, is all about. I think about the foresight of people like Tom Werner and the work that General Hammond and Peter Allard are doing and have done. It's an amazing, amazing program. You talk about teamwork, and you have the very best of the best with a premier medical institution in Mass General, obviously a premier baseball team and organization, coming together to put the right players in place. And I want to thank all the folks, the home base staff, for everything that they do day in and day out to bring this program forward. I also want to thank people who have been on the front lines, literally, but also in our legislature, making sure that over the years Massachusetts has really led the way when it's come to making good on commitments to the over 400,000 or more veterans and service members that we have here in the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So in particular, Senator Mike Rush, thank you for everything that you do. And to Jack, of course, thank you for always being in the right place at the right time on so many issues. And I think that the involvement and the partnership of members of the business community in making a program like this possible really says a lot about not only the ethos of Boston and the state, but about the great men and women who collectively, whether they're in government or business or academia, are willing to come together in common purpose for common good. I'm really thrilled to support a program like Home Base because, you see, in my office, we deal with the back end of these things. When men and women have gone off to serve and have lost their car, fallen behind on mortgage payments, lost their homes, or they come back and they're unable to successfully integrate because of unmet needs and in terms of trauma and violence and PTSD and all that they've witnessed and been through. We sadly, unfortunately, see them within the criminal justice system when things just go bad because people haven't been supported in the way they really should be supported. I got a boatload of folks, too, who are dealing with serious student loan issues because we know that veterans and service members are particularly likely to unscrupulous actors out there who will exploit them and prey upon them, whether it's in for-profit school education or in other realms. So I think, from my perspective, I just want to offer the continuing support for this organization because the work it does to make sure that fewer bad things happen to great people is so, so imperative. So thank you all for everything that you have done to make today possible. I look forward to touring. I look forward to finding ways to continue to support this wonderful organization. No doubt in this time more than ever, it is our obligation to serve you as well as you have served our country. Thank you very much. And with that, I want to introduce, thank you, Senator Markey, for introducing me. Now we have the opportunity to introduce our great mayor, my mayor, City of Boston Mayor Marty Walsh.
Thank you, General Healy, and thank you for everything you do. And when Senator Markey introduced her as the greatest attorney general in the country, that's the true story. She is out front on so many different issues, so I want to thank you for all that you do. I'm not going to go in and introduce everyone here again. Sorry, Jack Honest, but he's been mentioned 5 times, and I made it 6, so I'm not going to make it 7. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to acknowledge Anissa Sabi-George, City Councilor Anissa Sabi-George, citywide city councilor, and I want to thank all the folks under this tent today. I want to thank in particular the veterans and the servicemen and women who are active in our country. Thank you to your service to our country. I forget which speaker said it. If it weren't for the sacrifices of our service men and women in this country, none of us would be standing here in a free society. None of us would be able to do what we do every single day. So on behalf of all of us here, thank you to all of you for the great work you do. To General Jack Hammond and everyone at Home Base, Dr. Slavin and Tom Warner, thank you. I too have had the opportunity, like the governor, to be at Fenway Park and to see and hear some incredible stories and to see some of those stories sitting in the stands waiting to happen of people that are being treated by Home Base. And I want to thank you, all of you, for doing this. This is an amazing thing, and that's what makes us so special here in this part of the country, is that we think beyond and we think about how do we help people, and I want to thank you for what you've done. This is really a proud day for the city of Boston. We're already home to the greatest baseball team in the country. We're home to the greatest hospital in the country, in MGH. And now we're home to the largest private sector clinic of this kind in the United States of America, here in Boston. As you know, Home Base represents a partnership between the Red Sox and Mass General Hospital. it also represents the deep respect and gratitude that we have as a city and who we serve. Veterans are honored members of our community. Joe Finn is here, many of the firefighters that are on our fire department are veterans. Commissioner Gross is here, many of our police department officers are veterans. Chief Hooley is here, many of our EMS, first responders. Think about that for a minute. The people that, when you call 911, the first people that show up at the house, whether it's a police officer, firefighter, or EMS, they served our country. And who better do you want to show up at your house than one of our first responders? We have an incredible office of Veteran Services in the city of Boston. It's led by Giselle Sterling, who is a veteran herself and a proud Marine. And so we're surrounded in the city of Boston by the service that we provide with the great people that work for us. It's important for us to understand and to remember the countless sacrifices that our veterans have made and their families have made for all of us. So when they come home, they continue to give back. They are mentors, they're parents, they're city employees, they work for the state, they protect us, they make sure that the services are there for the people that come behind them. Veterans also face unique challenges. It has been said many, many times, and I don't think it can ever be said enough. Many of them deal with the deep wounds, the invisible wounds of war. Since I took office, this has been a top priority for all of us at City Hall. It's not just my priority, it's all of our priority. And it's been my priority even before that when I was in the legislature with Mike Rush. And we sat in the House of Representatives together along with Peter Katusian. And then Danny came in behind us to make sure that people used to say we have the best, most generous benefits in the country for veterans in Massachusetts. And that's a great label to have, but I don't necessarily look at them as generous benefits. That's the right thing for us to do. And we do that, and I'm honored to say we support that, to make sure that we support our veterans and their families. A couple years ago, we took on the challenge of ending chronic veterans homelessness in the city of Boston to make sure that every veteran has the resource they need to thrive in education and employment. Home Base has been an important partner in that work because many of the veterans that were on our street that were chronically homeless, many of them were Vietnam vets. They didn't have Home Base. They didn't have a place to come back to. And when we launched that program in 2015, Home Base was one of our main partners right there because it was important for us to be able to do that. And since that time, we've housed 550 chronically homeless veterans in the city of Boston. And it's because of understanding the scars that they had and they carried for an awful long time. So again, thank you. Again, I want to just thank the Red Sox Foundation. I want to thank Mass General Hospital. I want to thank Home Base. I want to thank you for the great work you do in our communities. All of the staff that's in this room today that put this together, that work for Home Base, we want to thank you too, because you're the people, you're the ones that do the work, and I want to thank you for that. I get to stand up here along with the other elected officials and Jack Connors and talk about this great program. But we know that after we do a tour in a few minutes, we're going to go back in our cars and we're going to go back to our life and we're going to go deal with something else. And we know that the young person or the person that walks through the front door here, either today or on Monday morning, is going to get the services they need. And we'll be able to talk about all that number and how great it is that's happening. But you're the ones doing the work behind the scenes. So thank you to all the staff here at Home Base. As you know, tonight the Red Sox are playing in the World Series. We have many heroes on the field. Mookie Betts, J.D. Martinez, Jackie Bradley, Chris Sale, a lot of heroes. A lot of people prop those players up, and they do, and they're heroes. But I get the honor to introduce a real hero, somebody who's not playing on the field tonight, but has made an impact in so many young people's lives and so many people's lives, and that's General Jack Hammond, Executive Director of Home Base.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. What's interesting with our veteran community, many of our veterans return home from combat, from their service, and they have some complications in life. They get stuck, and they have difficulties in transition. They end up with sheriff contusion in some cases. They end up with the mayor, the city, and we have a lot of challenges that we have to overcome, but there's a lot of great success stories when they come out the other side, and that's really what we're here to do. Home Base is here to offer hope. hope for tomorrow so that they can live through today and actually not take their own life, and hope for a future, not just an okay life, a good life. And today we've got great representatives of that. My good friend Ryan Pitts is with us today, Medal of Honor recipient from amazing combat actions in Afghanistan. My former boss and now Harvard professor, Major General Rapp, has joined us. And we've got a number of veterans, whether they're serving in the state legislature, whether they're serving on the police departments, the fire departments, business leaders, elected officials. When they succeed, they thrive. And that's really why we're here, to set the conditions for success. When I arrived at home base 6 years ago, I received my marching orders, and that was to take this great program and then build it into a national program with strategic impact. And that is really what we sought out to do over the past 6 years. And we had to look at what would that mean, first of all, because as Jerry Rosenbaum taught me a long time ago, when we deal with these mental health and brain injuries, we're operating at an AM radio level of medicine in a digital medical world. There's all sorts of opportunities for growth. Many of the medicines and treatment protocols were built in the 50s and 60s and still used because of Peter Slavin's point. It's one of the most under-resourced areas of medicine and poorly financed through reimbursement, so it doesn't get the attention it often deserves. But to have a strategic impact, you need strategic partners. And over the years, we've been looking at that and identified the top-tier national programs we could identify to partner with. And of course, we had our friends from Wounded Warrior Project that awarded us this amazing 5-year partnership that enabled the funding to resource the care, while we simultaneously had to raise the funding to build the house to operate the care in. We've got the Fisher House Foundation that helps house our veterans when they come here. We've got the George W. Bush Institute, who works to try and synchronize the efforts of all these 40,000 veteran service organizations in the country. We're partnered with the royal family to try and get the international piece, and we'll soon be doing more with them because they're starting to make some great strides forward and figure out how are they handling things, how can we help and share those thoughts. And we've got our friends from the Warrior Care Network that over the past 6 years we built relationships with 3 other academic centers to replicate what we do and create a national network of care that all have the same outcome measures and results, which is taking people over a 2 or 3 week period and taking them from non-functional, potentially taking their lives, to functional human beings. And that's really something that you wake up and feel good about yourself every day when you know you can take somebody who's contemplating to kill himself and then giving them their life back. I'd like to tell you something. I met this morning, and because we're in this new facility, we're able to double the size of our program, double the impact of our program. And instead of having one cohort group come through, we have 2 simultaneous now going through. And instead of 12, we now have 36. And so this morning I had the honor to attend 2 graduation ceremonies back to back and meet some interesting folks. And just to give you a sense, one man flew in from Okinawa, Japan. One guy was 63, another guy was 23. This is the full range of spectrum of people we see. One young woman, her father was a highly decorated veteran who came through the program 6 months ago, and she's a decorated Marine. She needed help, and Dad reached out to her and got her in here, and she said, we've unlocked her future. She couldn't trust people, she couldn't go outside, and now she's going to function. That was just today's group. And as they left, one of them read something, and I'm just going to read it briefly because I'm going to divert from my remarks and read it verbatim. They wrote this up for us today. This is our appreciation, for without hope we have no dreams. Everything exists for a purpose. A home has parents. Money exists for the purpose of self and the needs of others. Education exists to fulfill our dreams and the goals for things we've missed. Opportunity exists to meet great people like us to encourage one another. Time exists for a purpose, but useless without knowledgeable words. Home base exists to change, give hope, and restore peace and lost love. But you, the staff of home base, exist with the purpose to mend broken hearts, broken homes, lost directions, to make dim lights bright, for restoring hope for people like us to say the best we can with the words from our hearts and hugs from our souls, and thank you for caring. They'd read that this morning, and that's the type of people that come through this program. That's the impact. These are folks that won't talk to each other on day one, that can't talk to each other, that can't communicate, And then to come up with something so beautiful and eloquent at the end of a 2-week period just shows the measure of success. As we enter our 10th year, we realize that the needs are great. And as Jack told me many years ago, the ocean is large and our ship is small. We needed a bigger boat. We built a bigger boat with your help. And today, we're able to treat hundreds of thousands of people through direct and indirect methods of training and treating people. But we still lose more than 20 veterans each day, and we've lost 100,000 veterans to suicide since 9/11. That's a staggering number. It's an epidemic. The VA just released a report several weeks ago that there's actually been an uptick, a 10% increase in veteran suicide for guys and gals that are 18 to 28 years old. And so we're here to help try and stem the tide of these veteran suicide through the full range of programs and through these collaborative partnerships that we have with all of these strategic partners. We've also identified a huge gap in care for our families of the fallen. These are men and women who have sacrificed literally everything, their loved one. We highlighted this at Mission Gratitude. We partnered with an organization called TAPS, which is Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. These are people, this organization is made of people who've lost somebody. And it's a peer-to-peer organization that wraps their arm around them. But what they explained to us is that there is no clinical program in the United States specifically for families who've lost loved ones. They reached out to us and said, can you design a program? We said, of course. We worked at it, and we took our 2-week program, made some adjustments, and we piloted it twice when we had the same data outpoints, the same outcome measures, the same success as we did with the veterans. And we're now going to run that 4 times a year with them, and then we're going to look at further building it out because it's the right thing to do, just like Peter Slavin made that decision a few years ago. We're going to have to expand our traumatic brain injury program because we're learning that not all these injuries take place on the battlefield. To be successful, these men and women have to execute these training tasks hundreds and hundreds of times with these minor concussive events. And much like the NFL's learning, it's not that one big hit, it's that prolonged hitting that takes place. And we've got to figure out how do we take care of those folks better. This facility will give us the resources and space to maximize our potential. And that's the value of what we've done and what we've been able to come together and do as a group of people here in Boston. This is the first private sector National Center of Excellence in the nation, and that's due to your support. It will offer hope to hundreds of thousands of people, and it does save lives every day. I want to thank Mike Gallard and our professional staff and Tom Spencer and our clinical staff for the life-saving work they do each day. 60% of the people that come through here have substance abuse issues. Almost half of them are actively contemplating suicide, and we're treating some of the most injured people in the country on a daily basis, and it's because of the dedication and commitment to help these people that they feel welcome, and 95% of them that start the program complete the program, and across the country it's about a 30% success rate on these types of programs. I want to thank everybody that's here today. We have some very special folks that actually helped fund this thing and make me sleep better at night, and Peter stuck his neck out huge. For those that don't know, Dr. Slavin told me he would bridge loan the funding of this construction project, and we said, we're good for it, and he trusted us. And there's some very special people here today that actually, in addition to their normal giving to this program, they went above and beyond and helped fund this construction project, which didn't come out of our operational money. And we've got, obviously, my good friend Gene Temple, who's here today. Don Dion and Kathy Morton, great friends of ours. David and Holly Bruce and the Highland Street Foundation. Rick and Nancy Kelleher. Our friends from John Hancock. The Spear Family Foundation. And last but not least, our good friends at the Wounded Warrior Project. When we asked them for $62 million, I asked them for $3 million more for the construction. And General Mike Linnington is a great American. I served with him over in Afghanistan briefly, and he looked back at me and said, "You want more?" And I said, "Well, sir, we're going to name the clinic something, and you're paying $60 million to run the clinic. Would you want it to be the Jack Hammond Clinic that you pay for, or would you want it the Wounded Warrior Project Clinic? And as you go in there, you'll see it's the Wounded Warrior Brain Health Center here at Mass General and home base, and it was funded by them because they've been a principal partner of ours. And not only that, they have a ground game in all 50 states. They provide 60% of the veterans by connecting them to care here. So they're the 5th partner in this organization that we've created. So I'd like to thank them. In closing, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for your commitment to our veterans, making a difference in their lives, for joining us here today to learn more about it. I know we've mentioned all the elected officials, our first responders. Everybody here has come to help us with this effort. You know, it takes a nation to support an army at war, but it also takes that same nation to help those soldiers return home. And here in Boston, we're building an amazing community of support for these veterans to show them that everything they did matters, and we do care for them, and we're doing an effective job of it. So thank you all for what you do each day to support that effort.
I think you can see why General Hammond is an outstanding leader of this organization, Jack. Thanks for all that you do for our veterans and families, for our staff members, and for being a good friend to all of those in need. Very appreciative. Okay, so this is the moment you've been waiting for. A couple of logistical directions here. I'm going to ask that the folks who are standing towards the back go out towards the main entrance, and we'll have some of those staff members that the mayor talked about directing you. For those of our elected officials and supporters, we're going to guide those out right on this exit to my right, to your left. We're all going to meet in front of the building for ceremonial ribbon cutting and picture. And then from there, we'll conduct our self-guided tours from those staff members who the mayor had mentioned. Please ask them questions. They're excited for this day and really welcome all that you want to discover. And thank you again for this celebration.